Welcome to Gifted and Guided. I'm your host, Naila. Around here, we're all just figuring it out. Slightly confused, walking imperfectly towards purpose, but doing it with grace. My hope is that you take something from this episode and remember, you are doing your best. But the key word is doing. Keep showing up for yourself and don't overthink it. Drop a comment, share your thoughts, because your voice matters here too. All right, let's jump in. So I have Caitlin joining me today. Caitlin, welcome.
Hello, thank you.
I'm excited for today's story. So we're going to kick off with our what if question. And it's, what if working with villains allow you to be the hero of your own story? Ooh, this sounds like a mystery, and I am so excited. And it makes so much sense considering our guests. Today, we have Alysee Shelton. She is such a great friend of mine. She is an event extraordinaire, a talent management guru, and she loves to just get on a plane and take a flight to London randomly. Actually, she did that the other week. Alysee and I worked together at Hot 97 many years ago. And Alysee, I wore this just for you.
Oh my gosh. I'm like, I didn't even recognize that. I'm like blind. Oh my goodness.
Well, I know that we are in for a treat, and I'm so excited to hear your story. So, Alysee, welcome.
Thank you. Oh my gosh. Hot 97 days. Tear. But that's how it all started.
That's how it all started. And I'm pretty sure this story was before Hot 97, right?
No. It was at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Ooh, and I had no idea. Okay, so I'm excited. So, Alysee, before we get into the villains and you becoming the hero of your own story, can you set the scene? Where were you in life, in your career? What was going on?
Yeah, so I was living in New York. I want to say this was maybe 2016. So I was living in New York. I just moved from Jersey, actually. I was living in Jersey in Palisades Park. And I had moved over, got my first apartment with my two roommates in New York City. We were living in Washington Heights. And I had initially, when I moved to like New York, New Jersey, I didn't have any money. And so I ended up getting a job just doing an event manager job at a local like entertainment venue around Times Square. And so I did that, I want to say, for maybe 10 months before I was just flat out laid off. And that was the first time I've ever been laid off, which I was shocked and surprised and all that, which looking back, I don't know why I was, because we didn't have a lot of attendees or like a guest just coming out to the venue.
And wait, before we get to that, where did you come from prior to New Jersey, New York?
Yeah, so it's kind of interesting. So technically I was in Minnesota because I had got my first job like out of college. And so I was a news reporter at a local Duluth News Tribune is what it was called back then.
Okay.
And at the end of everything, like the end of my lease, I was just like, I don't want to live here. I want to live in New York. And so I thought I was just going to immediately be able to make it happen. Like I had quit my job with nothing lined up. I was like, I'm just going to do it. I just want to be there. Of course, It didn't really happen that way. I ended up having to go back home to Indianapolis for a couple months before I ended up just taking another leap to get out to New York.
Okay, got you. Okay, so then you make it to New York or New Jersey and you're laid off. So of course you're surprised because you're like, wait, I thought that this was a dream. Like, I'm stepping into this idea, this vision, and now I'm laid off. What am I going to do in an expensive city? How am I going to pay rent? Got it. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, I felt so bad too because we had literally just signed our lease. Like we had signed our lease and maybe 2 weeks had passed by and then I got that news and I was just freaking out internally.
That is the worst timing.
That's so bad. Oh no.
And I told my boss at the time to kind of like guilt trip him and to make him feel bad for like, hello, do you regret your decision? Like, don't do this right now. Because I was like, I don't know how I'm going to afford my portion of the rent. However, obviously it didn't work because I was still laid off. So
They said, just like a true New Yorker. Anyways, next day.
You'll figure it out. Right.
Right.
Yeah, which I definitely did. And so I was like scrambling. Like I still had the part-time gig with Hot 97, but obviously that wasn't enough to cover rent at the time. And so I was looking for jobs on like LinkedIn and Indeed and all that. And I ended up finding one on Indeed. And I felt like it sounded really young and fun. Like it was a startup. It was essentially this company that plans events and does like luxury event concierge service for millennials who were making six figures back then. And I immediately applied because I was like, this sounds fun. This sounds fresh. It doesn't sound like a typical corporate job. So I'll just see how it goes. And then I think maybe I would say a couple days had passed before somebody had reached out to just kind of interview me in person and just see, get a gauge on me. And so I went in, met with the team, ended up liking everybody at that time. And a couple days later, I was hired.
Wow, that was fast.
Fast. Yeah.
Well, let me preface. So I think I was job searching for maybe a month and a half, 2 months before this all actually happened.
Okay, got you. Wow, that's still a long time. 2 months, and then you're trying to figure out how you're going to pay rent. I'm sure did you have savings?
Not a ton. Like I had a little bit enough to kind of get me through the 2 months, but anything after
Okay.
that, I probably just would have, I don't know, been on the street, right?
Knowing your roommates, I don't think that would have happened.
I know. They're
But-
very amazing.
Yeah. So, okay. So you get hired at this new job. I mean, that hiring process is pretty fast, though.
It was very fast, but I didn't think
Yeah.
a lot of it just because I was so desperate in a sense to get work. And
Right.
it felt good at the time being. Like my boss back then, she was very nice. She was also very young. And it just seemed like a very promising company. Like the whole concept of it, I loved. And it just seemed like it was very aligned with where I was trying to go in life back then. And so I was like, you know what? Why not? Let's do it.
Right.
Let's make it work. It was in a fun WeWork location. Like I was sold on all of it.
Oh, you love a good workspace.
I love a and
Coffee
see,
shop
coffee
workspace.
shop. I almost booked actually a room today, but it ended up not working out. But I just love working in a nice aesthetic, it just is inspiring.
The environment. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. That's how they get you. Okay. So so continue.
And so I want to say this was maybe mid to late 2016, if not early 2017, where I was working at this company, and it was maybe, I want to say maybe 10, 15 of us in total. We were all pretty young. We were like mid to late 20s. Only a few people were in their early 30s. I mean, it was even founded by, I think he was maybe 26 back then, the founder. And so this company essentially was booking really fun events for all these like young millennials, and also working to get them deals on Broadway show tickets. So for example, back then Hamilton had just came to New York, and so we were helping get like our clients in a sense cheaper discount tickets and all that.
Nice.
And then I want to say maybe not even 3 weeks in, I started to notice interesting signs while working at this company. Yeah.
This is like the middle of the Spider-Man movie.
Yeah,
where
the suspense.
the villain starts
Yeah.
Villain.
showing up, and they're walking around disguised, and now they're starting to show themselves. Okay.
Everything was starting to come to light a little bit. So what I mean by that, for example, the first thing I noticed was, okay, I got paid on a Friday, right? I think my pay was biweekly. And so I got paid on a Friday. However, I noticed Monday that money was taken back out of my account. And I was like, as a Capricorn, I don't play about my money.
Right?
So I immediately hit up my boss like, what is happening? Where did my money go? Why is it gone? How did that even happen? And she was just like, oh, I'm so sorry. I'll look into it. Let me connect with HR, see what's going on. And she didn't really have a reason for it other than it was an accident. But the money did come back to my account later on that evening. And so I was like, oh, okay. I'm like, it's back, but just making a mental note in the back of my head, like, okay, just like I see you, essentially.
Right. Yeah.
And then, so that was fine. That was a couple weeks past. And so, like, one of my like main roles with this company was just kind of like working with these millennials via chat, just arranging these events and just booking these different shows and things that they wanted. And it was all done through, I think it was called Intercom, which is kind of like chat based.
Oh,
And
okay.
so one of the popular things was the Hamilton tickets. And so we would have people who would want to book up to, I don't know, maybe 10, 15 tickets at a time for these different shows, just because they were really
Wow.
hard to get into and they were obviously super expensive for that amount of tickets. And so we would tell them, like, yeah, okay, we'll get it done, we'll get it reserved and all of that. However, when that time came, do you think that we had those tickets? No.
Oh my.
So
Oh.
we, if in so many words, it felt like we were taking the money. I don't know what happened with the money, but those people were not getting their tickets on time. Or if they say they paid for maybe 10 tickets, they maybe get 5 out of those 10 tickets.
But
So
how
that was,
did they contact you to tell you that they didn't receive their tickets? Or like, was it another team? Because that wasn't necessarily your job, right?
yeah. So essentially, because we would have to give them the tickets, like we'd have to email them the confirmation and the PDFs and all that. And however, like our boss would have to let us know, like, okay, we got the tickets, here you go, you can send this off. But we never got that email, we never got the confirmation, none of that. And so when the day came, they were hitting us up on the chat, just like, hi, where are my tickets? The show is tonight, like, what's going on? And so we were just trying to like scramble to figure out updates, figure out how to like remedy the situation, which sometimes didn't always happen. And so that it was so bad. That was like sign number 2, I feel like, where I was just like,
Yeah.
this is getting a little wild. I don't feel good about this. This is getting out of hand because like if I'm a part of this membership, I wouldn't want somebody doing this to me. Like I would be skeptical. Yeah, it was a little while.
Yeah. So then, and you said that there are 3 signs.
Yes. So I think, what was the third sign? Yeah, it was the money, the tickets, and then I think the third sign was actually the festival. So, I don't know if you all know a very popular festival that happened around 2017 that rhymes with Ryer Festival.
Okay.
I this was toward, I think I maybe been the company maybe 5 months at this point, I want to say. And so I was talking to my boss. We were at like our company celebration party. I don't know what type of party it was, but it was essentially just like an event where we were all together celebrating something. And I was just kind of talking to my boss on the side. And so she was telling me about this upcoming project that they were working on, which involved music and a festival, all these different artists, and how it was taking
And
place.
you love a good music
I
festival.
love a good music festival.
And
She,
especially then, yeah, working
know.
behind the scenes at music festivals, that was her thing. Uh-huh.
and she knew that. Like we'd had convos about that like during my interview, and she remembered that. And she was just kind of giving me insight as to what they were working on with just some of their higher ups at the time, which were only like 3 of them. And so I was really sold on like what she was telling me and all that. Like she was really selling me on it, and she was just like, it's something to consider. And so around the same time during this party, I think, some of the employees and us were just kind of talking, just trying to figure out like where we stood with the company and all that. Cause I feel like we were all noticing different signs here and there, whether it be like some of the stuff I experienced or other things that other people saw. And so there was definitely chatter, and it got back to the founder just because it was a small company and of course people talk. And
Yeah.
so around the same time I was having that conversation with my boss about like this potential festival and all that, the founder actually gave us an ultimatum. So
Oh.
yeah, before I could even make a decision on that, he gave everybody, like all 10 of us, an ultimatum just saying like, hey, I know some of you have been unhappy with some of the way things have unfolded with this company, and things are going to get better. We're just working through a few things, blah, blah, blah. It was a whole bunch of broken promises. And so there was two options. He was like, you can either stay, hang around, keep working on things. You'll obviously still get the same pay, if not an increase later on. And we're working on this really cool festival that we'd love for you to be a part of, as it's going to just blow everyone's minds. Or you could take this little bitty stipend and just be on your way. And so essentially, since I had just, started the gig, wasn't even a year yet and all that, still trying to like make up for the money that I lost from being laid off, I was like, should I stick it out? I love music festivals. I love a good risk. I was like, this could potentially be amazing. Or should I just take the stipend and go, because I don't feel good internally about what's been going on, and it just feels like it might come back and, bite me in the behind if I continue to stay on. And so I really went back and forth. I think he only gave us maybe 5 days, if that, to decide. And so I ended up taking the leap and just going, taking the severance and all that. Of course, I didn't have anything lined up after that, but I was applying like things to crazy just because I didn't want to be without money again. Right. And obviously, I'm so glad I did, as that was an amazing decision considering what happened with the actual festival and people not getting what they paid for, which I can't remember how much the tickets cost back then, but I just know that they were promised like these amazing, gourmet meals and just like this awesome lodging and all that. Didn't get any of it, obviously, because the festival did not happen, but I did have colleagues who stayed. I felt so bad for them, just finding out, that they, weren't paid, or they weren't getting paid on time. They ended up legally got into some trouble, I want to say, just because, he got in trouble.
Wow.
They had to get interviewed and all that. And it was just so, it was only, I want to say, maybe 3 or 4 people who had stayed and committed to it and all that. And the rest of us just like, get us out. We're done.
Yeah.
Left. But
wow.
It was so...
Yeah. And there's a whole documentary about this festival and how the legal aspect was just beyond what we could imagine for an event of this size. But the fact that you took the leap and said no, what made you say, even though you didn't have anything lined up, you needed the money, what made you say, I'm just going to take the severance?
Yeah.
Even though I don't know what's next.
Yeah, like, I gotta get out.
I had to get out. I just felt so bad because I was just like, karma is real, and I felt like it was going to come back and get me if I were to stay. And so... And back then, too, like I was obviously young in my 20s. I loved taking risks. And I just felt like a lot of the risks that I took up until this point have kind of worked out and have led me to a better path, essentially, in so many words. And so I was just like, I just can't stay. Like, I can't stick around for the aftermath of this. Like, I just had a feeling that leaving was probably the best option in that situation, which obviously it was. Hello. Right. But... I was just like, I'll find something. I'll figure it out. My faith was unbreakable back then. Obviously, I need to get back to that. But I was just like, anything is better than sticking around for this crazy mess.
I mean, but to that point, there are people that'll still stay, right? And they did. There were people that did. But sometimes the environment isn't the best, and they'll just push through despite how they feel. So one, you took into account how you felt and you honored that. 2, you didn't know what was next, but you believed that something better was coming. And it seems like even when taking a risk, some people think of taking a risk as like, this is what I want to do, so I'm going to go and take that jump. It wasn't necessarily something you wanted to do. You had to do it, but you had a choice between two different paths.
2 different risks.
And also not knowing what the outcome would be for those paths, because had you stayed, you would have been a part of the legal mess. And you got out prior to that? And so after you left, did you get a job, or like what did that look like for you?
After I left, it was a struggle. I'm trying to remember how many months I went without work before I finally got a gig. And so I want to say that was the end of 2016, 2017, one of those years. But I know for sure because I started looking like January, February is when I was definitely without work, was looking, applying like crazy. Can't even remember how many jobs I applied on back then. And I got a gig. That was also a crazy gig. At this point, I'm like, I don't know if it's me or just something that, if it's something I'm doing wrong internally, because I just felt like I kept attracting crazies and crazy situations. I'm just like, at some point, you just have to look in the mirror, I guess.
Wait, is this around the time when you got into an argument with a homeless man in Harlem?
No, that was toward my exit in New York. That was
Okay.
a couple of years later. New York is just,
That's New York.
it's definitely, New York has tried me over and over a million
No.
times. Between
But
laid
then
off,
you love it.
Yes, it's
I
made
do.
you who you are today. You're
It's a
stronger.
sick addiction.
It's a vicious cycle.
it's a vicious cycle. It's really just kicked me so many times.
Oh.
So then
But you got
end
back up.
Yeah, I got
Right.
back up. I figured it out.
So you ended up attracting the wrong employers, and then what happened?
I ended up, I want to say maybe 2 or 3 months later, I got a job at a speaker talent management company. And it was also another small company where the two founders were like 80 years old. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but there's nothing wrong with that. But yes. And then everybody else was, a little bit older. They were seeing some things, to say the least. But essentially my role was just to kind of be like a speaker talent manager relations person. The title kept changing, but I was just working with some of their speakers in-house and like working with them on travel, some of their booked engagements and all that. That was a house full of crazies. And so I ended up leaving that after like a month because I just couldn't at this point. I was so mentally checked out. And I'm like, you know what? At this point, like I'll figure it out as I have been these like laid off gigs and all these other crazy gigs in between. And around that same time, I had met with a friend who had also quit her job. Like she was an artist manager at the time. I want to say for maybe Red Bull. And she had started pursuing the freelance life. And so she was telling me about it and just like how she's gotten into it and getting gigs and all that. And it's funny because I've always wanted, in a sense, like even as a kid, to do something on my own. Like I never wanted a typical 9 to 5. Like I felt like a desk job was just never in my nature. And so everything she was telling me about kind of aligned to that without having to, I don't know, own like this big corporation. Like I could still like work for myself, but also do it on my terms at a smaller scale, a more manageable scale to me. And she was telling me how she did it and how she approached like different companies and brands and all that. And so because obviously I was having trouble getting a gig or at least attracting the right gig, I started taking her lessons and applying that in my own manner. Because I was like, I have skills to be event planner, producer, like all these different skill sets, artist relations manager. However, I should just go work on different gigs and different opportunities because they're short term. They're a little bit more aligned with the type of things that I get to do. And I get to pick what I like to work on versus just being handed something I don't want to be a part of. So, and I'm like, at this point, what do I have to lose? Because I've been rejected, let go of. Like, I have nothing to lose at this point. And so I applied it, and I definitely got a lot of no's, obviously, in the beginning. Like, people just not responding to emails or just not wanting to take that chance on me. Before eventually getting yeses. And almost 10 years later, I'm still doing it as a freelancer. So I guess it's kind of worked out.
Wow. 10 years later.
Almost. I think,
That's
2017.
a long time. Congratulations.
Ew.
Yeah, because it's like sustainability within that space as a freelancer is tough.
It's crazy.
Yeah, so to be able to do that for 10 years, I mean, first of all, how long is your resume?
That's the crazy part too, because I feel like I can't capture everything because I work on so many different things. So I always just try to put the highlights on there.
Just the highlights. Do you have like, how do you keep up and keep track of everything you've done? I feel like at this point, it sounds like it's all a blur. Oh, the calendar?
Yes, my giant wall calendar.
Wow.
It is definitely a blur. I feel like I definitely have to stay organized because I work both with brands directly, and then sometimes we'll get hired by agencies to work on different projects. And obviously multiple projects kind of lap over each other. But I always have my 1,000,001 calendar reminders on my phone, my Google Calendar, my wall calendar. I try to stay organized with like project-based software like Asana and certain things like that. And I'm like, just looking back, obviously I don't love, working for a company that was sketch in so many words.
Right.
And just dealing with some of the crazy jobs that I had prior, even to that role. I feel like it's kind of led me to where I was supposed to be essentially because, I did want to do this myself and kind of do my own thing, which has obviously led me to this path. But, I definitely take the lessons and, all the mistakes and learnings from back then and applied it to this point. And it's kind of, working for the villain and working for the crazies have kind of allowed me to be the hero of my own story and allow me to get to where I am to today.
Wow.
Yeah, and I think that's why the crazies, you were attracting the crazies, right? So that you could come to this realization of like, okay, you know what? Let me back up and then like realize that like, this is something I've wanted to do.
Yeah.
Let me just do it and jump into the freelancing and having your friend to help you. That's amazing.
Yeah.
10 years later,
Here we are. Yay.
And it's also the placement of people in your life. I mean, to be able to meet your friend who is freelancing to give you insight into how that works at the time that you met her. And also, of course, because you had me in your life too,
Obviously.
So
Hello.
I was able to keep you entertained.
Keep me aligned.
And then to have the opportunity to explore different lanes, because it sounds like you weren't set on what type of company you'd work for. Because some people are like, I'm only going to work in music, or I'm only going to do fashion. And you've worked in a variety of lanes, industries, and with people and brands. So that also allows you to be more well-versed now with all that you do. And considering your journey and coming up on 10 years, what do you see like the next year looking like for you? And are you going to continue down this freelance path within events and talent management, or are you looking to shift? Because sometimes when we do something for so long, we're like looking for that next thing, even if we enjoy it. But considering how your path has been like a wild roller coaster, I'm sure you're tired. So I'm curious, have you been thinking about that?
Especially post-COVID, I've been thinking about it a lot. Like, I feel like, and I know COVID, the pandemic rather, affected everybody in different ways. And I feel like prior to that, like I was always like in grind mode, like you never sleep, like always like working on something and just trying to push to, go up this imaginary ladder that I had in my head. But post that, I feel like I've been looking at things differently. Like I've really been in my wellness bag and just trying to live a more soft girl life, essentially, even though I'm still struggling, I feel like, to do that.
We're all figuring it out.
We're all figuring it out. And that's the beauty of it. I feel like for me, I obviously won't be doing this forever. Like I can't imagine running around at 80 trying to like put together an event or
you in
things.
80, I swear.
I'm 80 on the inside. No offense to the 80-year-olds listening.
No.
You're amazing.
But go ahead.
Not to
When
be
you're
age
80,
biased.
you can't see yourself
Yeah, I
doing
mean,
this.
physically, like, being on site for 10, 15 hours a day is a lot on the body. And I
Yeah.
even feel it now, even though I'm not that old now, but I just see like the little effects that obviously will affect me long term. And I just also too, I just feel like you, like we've had conversations about liking so many different things and having interests in so many different places and just wanting to do them all. And
Yeah.
while like I've enjoyed events for a long time and it's definitely brought me a lot of like fulfilling and rewarding moments, I want to say the last year and a half, couple years, I have been looking to pivot to other things, like essentially still using some of my production skills, but applying it elsewhere. And what I mean by that is kind of potentially looking to do more of like day of production projects or kind of like shorter term projects and kind of eliminating that pre-planning process because I'm finding nowadays I feel like that's the part I'm starting to despise a little bit when it comes to event production. Just all the back and forth, all the client calls, all the just trying to figure out, if this creative makes sense after going through it 7 rounds. Like I feel like my patience is getting a little bit thin for that these days. So I'm looking right now in other ways to just see how I can still do stuff within my passions of like the music, fashion, entertainment realms and applying that in different roles, if that makes sense.
New roles. Yeah, it does. Is there a way for you to tap back into that young Alysee that was like this risk taker who just said, let's see.
Let's
Let's find out.
Let's see. It's still there a little bit. Like I don't even think I told you yet. So just because I would know we were supposed to connect when I was in New York last month, but it didn't work out. I'm currently on a digital nomad journey right now, where essentially I'm just kind of bouncing city to city, seeing where that goes. Yeah. And I'm essentially kind of starting that process a little bit where I'm looking to different things. Like last year, I tried like the concert touring and all that. Not sure I would do that again, but it was a good experience to show that I don't want to do that.
Right.
And then I'm trying to now, this one's been a little bit harder because I feel like you need to obviously be based in New York or LA because that's obviously where most of these types of entertainment, fashion, whatever beauty gigs are. I'm trying to do some production like on set of like a music video or just something music related because I feel like a lot of those skills like as a production manager for a shoot are kind of similar with like a event manager or event producer. And so I'm just trying little things where I'm like reaching out to people, just brainstorming on how I can use these talents elsewhere and just trying to figure out what that could potentially look like to see where I can kind of transition to hopefully by end of this year, if not early next year.
And, I hope you see that there's that gift of openness that you have and you've always had, because to be open to the idea of something new while exploring what that transition would look like with the skills that you have is not common. There are a lot of people that box themselves in. I being one who I've definitely done that many times, and you get caught up in what something could look like based off of what you know versus exploring new avenues. So good for you for being able to at this stage in your career and in life in your 30s. I don't even know her age at this point. She never tells me. Or maybe you're in your 40s. Who knows? At this stage of your life.
Maybe, right? Hello.
At this stage.
We're the same age.
Okay, that's a lie. But I think it's admirable to see because there are a lot of people that just get stuck and stay. But you've never been one to just stay.
Yeah. It's like maybe I don't like commitment. I just like, maybe I have a commitment phobia because I'm like, I don't commit to anything long term.
Do you think that's translated into your personal life? In
some ways more than others. It's definitely carried over a little bit.
I wonder if you're supposed to explore that right now.
Maybe. I'm just like, I don't know. I just like keeping my options open. I never want to commit to anything because I'm like, I don't want to get stuck, like you said. I just feel like there's so much out there to see and do. Like, why not try all of it? Like, I don't want to wake up in another 20 years. I'm like, you know what? What if? I don't want to have that what if syndrome of what if I had tried that, or what if I, went after that back then? Because I'm like, life is sure, we're all going to experience rejection or, redirection, but it doesn't have to always be a bad thing. Like, we can take that, learn from it, grow from it, and make it into something beautiful. And who knows, maybe, what we wanted or what we thought we wanted wasn't meant for us anyway. And so, being open to new opportunities and new paths and all that could potentially change your life for the better.
Yeah, it could. And that's truly a summary of your story.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of worked out, I guess, right?
What would you say is a gift from the story you've shared?
I would always say a gift is being able to listen to your gut and trust your gut to make the right decision, and just being open to the unknown. I feel like being open to the unknown has definitely led me to better places, thank God. Just because I feel like a lot of people get discouraged when it comes to that, because it definitely can be scary to just not know what's next, or, where life could take you. As I know, a lot of us just want to be in control of our destiny, and just kind of own that outcome. But God is good, always has a better plan. And I feel like just being open, having that faith, and just trusting that everything is going to work out in the end has definitely helped me just kind of move through some of those challenging situations.
And to add to that, I think it's also being open to the uncertainty that comes with the faith, because you didn't know what was next. You had a few months in between gigs where you didn't know where the money was coming in or how you're going to pay rent. And I'm sure that felt super uncomfortable, and just overall, just like, you were just over it. I'm sure, knowing you're probably so over it. And most of us are. There's that time frame where we're just like, we're trying everything. We don't know how it's going to work out, if it's going to work out. Sometimes.
Right.
Sometimes you really question, is this actually going to lead to something? But to your point, it does.
Yeah.
And it may not be in our timing. It may not be the way we envision it, but it ends up working out. So, yeah, that's great.
It always works out in the end, whether, you get a redirection or if things actually work out perfectly the first time. Like, regardless, it all comes together. And it may take days, it may take a couple months, but at some point it all kind of like levels out.
And it's having the mindset to be able to take the risk too.
Definitely having the mindset, because I feel like people get so discouraged, and I'm like, I get it, I've definitely been there, but I'm just like, why focus on that? Because there's two ways you can look at it. You can either focus on the negative or just like the bad outcomes and all that, but also it's just like, why not? Why can't it work out nicely? Or why can't that decision be a good outcome in the end? Like, why can't we focus on the more positive benefits when that's an option, essentially? And I feel like one other thing that helped me got through like a lot of those challenging times and situations was taking my mind out of that equation and just putting it elsewhere. So, for example, like back then when I got laid off, I was volunteering a lot at a soup kitchen in New York, just to kind of show that I'm still still filled with gratitude, still grateful and all that, just for where I am. Even though my situation wasn't ideal, I still was doing stuff like that to just obviously help others, but also just kind of keep my spirits high and all of that. And I feel like that definitely helped me get through that phase, or just kind of keep a good mindset, essentially, and keep me from spiraling in so many words. Which is definitely,
That's such a great point. Finding a way to volunteer and give back. I like that. To your point, it's like you're still practicing gratitude even if you can't find it in your own world.
Exactly.
Or in your own journey. Wow. Nice. Well, at least, I mean, you already asked the questions. What if it works out? Why not me? You've already said all the things because we end the show with a gift that keeps on giving, and it's basically giving everyone a question for reflection. Yeah. So is there anything else you want to add? Any other questions? Because at this point, you've already said it, but I'm sure you have something great.
No, I can't do it on the spot. It just comes naturally. Is there anything else left? Just take the risk. Take the risk. Sometimes the reward is greater, even better than you can imagine. Just take it, do it. If you're thinking about it, you know, God's put it on your heart for a reason. Hopefully everybody listening believes in God. If not, higher power, whatever. But take the risk. You know, you never know where it could lead you. You don't want to wake up without any regrets. And obviously, if you're thinking about it or it's on your mind, it's there for a reason, so don't ignore it. And yeah, that's all I have. Don't be afraid of rejection.
Don't be afraid of rejection. Don't be
scared. Don't be scared of the unknown.
Well, I can't wait to see how you explore commitment over the next year.
Commitment. You know, we're growing up. We're doing things differently.
But in the meantime, keep us posted on all the things. I'm sure you will. And, you know, if you find any new coffee shops out in any city, please send it over so I can add it to my Google Maps list.
You know, I keep a running list.
Yeah. Oh, well, can you share it?
Yeah.
I will. I will email it to you.
Oh, email. You could just text it to me, but okay, fine.
Oh.
Well, thank you all for listening to another episode of Gifted and Guided.
Yay! Thank you, guys.
That's it for today's episode of Gifted and Guided. If this episode spoke to you, please subscribe, share with a friend, and drop a comment because I love hearing how you're figuring it out too. Until next time, remember, you are gifted, you are guided, and you're not doing this alone. All right, talk to you soon.